Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Mail Bag, the mailbag installment here at AMC Movie News. My name is John Campy. I'm the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News, and I'm so glad you decided to spend this Saturday with us, taking your questions from the mailbag, which, by the way, you can send in questions to us anytime by emailing us. Let me bring up the email address for you fine people. You can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. And every day we take a couple questions from the mailbag on our daily AMC Movie Talk show. And sometimes on the weekends, we do these mailbag shows where we do nothing but take your email questions. And I'm going to let you know, joining me today, first of all, this is the only guy joining me today, the guy sitting to my immediate right. He is, of course, Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on? Good to be here.
Just angle the mic to make sure your mouth's always pointed at it. Yeah, there we go. So this, and guys, is kind of straightforward. Today we're going to take your questions from the mailbag. I'm going to let you know we're pre-recording this one. I'm going to let you know about that. We actually it's been a long day already. We did movie talk this morning. Then we just shot our Neighbors spoiler review. Right. And now we're going to do mailbag. So we're all excited about this. So we're going to get to taking your mailbag questions. So let's get started by taking question number 1. And the first question today comes to us from Thomas Paterson, who writes, "Hey, AMC Movie Crew, you guys rock." Thank you so much, Thomas. Anyway, on to my question. I really love The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but it appears that it isn't getting the billion-dollar reaction Sony was hoping for. Do you think Sony is so dedicated to its universe it'll go through with it being its like long-term plan to do Spider-Man 3 and 4 and Sinister 6 and Venom? It's so committed to its universe that it'll go through with it despite it looking like the film might break 800 million and that's it? Thanks, and bring on the filthy. Well, Thomas, first of all, let's get something straight. $800 million at the box office will not have Sony crying in their sleep. Were they hoping it would be $1 billion film? Absolutely. Does it look like it's going to hit $1 billion? Probably not. We'll have to see what it does, in the overseas markets more, but it doesn't look like it's going to hit $1 billion. But if it does hit the $800 million mark, they're going to be totally fine. I would think, Schnepp, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that for this film to do so badly that they would actually nix their announced plans for Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 4, which they already got their guys under contract for. They're already writing and developing Sinister 6 and Venom. You would probably have to see somewhere in like the $400 million range. What number do you think that would have to be the magic number for them?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like 300 to 400 million. If that's what it was grossing, like combined with the U.S. and overseas, that's a big flop because they spent about 180, maybe 200 million in making it, then another 180 million in P&A. So you're looking at 400 million just to break even. Just
on the P&A, and that the real number on, let's for argument's sake say it's about 380 million.
Right.
The real break-even number then for Sony is probably like the high 600s, maybe even 700 million.
Right. With all the additional extras.
Just to break even.
Yeah. So I think, in our digital marketplace after the movies, then it comes to, video on demand and downloading it, renting it. It's gonna be a big hit. I think it's it's one of those films that divided a lot of people. Like I'm on record for not liking it, but I did like the first Amazing Spider-Man. So can the Amazing Spider-Man 3 make up for the faults of the Amazing Spider-Man 2? Well, they better damn well try. You know, and they better, if they want to have a committed group of people watching all the rest of the films, Spider-Man 3 and 4 and Sinister 6 and Venom, they've got to let the writers write the movie and the director direct the movie and not change it due to greed or, it's the Spider-Man 2 movie definitely has a lot of problems, and a lot of it comes from an unfocused push to push a lot of characters on us. So I think, the smart play for Sony would be to get Spider-Man 3, let the director, who's now Mark Webb, he signed on for it, get his writers and him to make the film that they're going to make. Don't change it midway through. Don't add a bunch of extra characters because you want to sell more toys. It's the age-old problem of a lot of studios just think by adding more characters and changing things, they feel like that's gonna win the audience. I think Spider-Man 2 is definitely one of those films that It's very divisive. I mean, some people liked it, some people hated it. You know, it's a lot of middle ground, like middle of the road, which, you know, the worst thing to be is a movie that's the middle of the road. That's the worst thing.
The one thing it's got going for it, though, right now, even though it's getting mixed reactions, this is what they'll have to fall back on, is that, remember, and my eyes are starting to bug out already, remember Transformers 2. You remember, like, Transformers 2, a lot of mixed reaction. Like, some people really liked it, some people really hated it. But it almost didn't matter because Transformers 3 came and they put out some kick-ass marketing, some kick-ass trailers, and people went to that movie in droves.
Right.
This is still Spider-Man. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that didn't like this film, yourself included, that even though, you know, you didn't like the film and there's some other people didn't like the film, that when the next Spider-Man film comes out, it's still Spider-Man, and we're all going to give it a shot.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, and we'll see, and we'll give it we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. And I think even if this film fails to crack 600 million, 700 million, I think Sony knows that they still got it's still Spider-Man, and that they can right the ship and improve it. I don't think they're going to throw off their course of action.
Well, yeah, I think the other thing about, you know, Sony is it's not about Spider-Man this summer. They're going to make their money back. It's about The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in 5 years.
Right.
Is this going to be looked at as the Batman and Robin of 2014? Like, unfortunately, in my eyes, it is. It's one of these films that's so uneven and all over the place. The tone is like freakishly back and forth and back and forth. It's for kids. Here's like an adult scene.
I disagree with you when you say, because you said that once before, that it's for kids. I'm an adult.
Right.
I enjoyed the film.
Right.
So it's not just for kids.
But that's your opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion is like, no, that's what I think is like, my opinion is like, when I was watching, I was like, none of these story plot devices make sense.
And we don't want to get into a whole review of Spider-Man 2 here, but I mean, you and I had a really interesting discussion about this in that when we both sat down and kind of talked our way through the film, we practically gave the exact same list of pros and the exact same list of cons. Yeah. It's like, yep, that was bad, and that was bad, that was bad. Yep, that was good, that was good, that was good. It's just that our final conclusion was
the
like...
scenes that we both liked, you felt made the film stronger.
I felt the positives overshadowed the negatives. You felt the negatives overshadow the thing. I just thought it was funny because we had like almost the identical list of positives and negatives. All right, let's move on to the next story today. And the next, not story, but the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Colen Peters, who writes, "Hey, I'm a huge fan of the show. My question is regarding the future of Steve Rogers as Captain America now that both Crossbones and Sharon Carter have been introduced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Both of these characters have a connection with the assassination of Captain America during the Civil War story arc." Now, he's talking about, by the way, a story arc in the comic books. Could the Marvel Cinematic Universe be headed in that direction? And if Steve Rogers is killed off, could Sebastian Stan, as Bucky Barnes, take over the role of Captain America like he does in the comics? And, you know, this has been a question that's come up a lot ever since, you know, Bucky Barnes was really introduced. So in the comic books, there is a storyline where Captain America gets assassinated. Oh, guess what? He doesn't stay dead anyway. So he gets assassinated, and then Bucky Barnes becomes Captain America for a while. And here's the thing. So people want to automatically make this leap that, oh, therefore that's what they're going to do in the movie. Remember, the comic books are the comic books. The movies are the movies. Just because something happens in the comic... Look, we already know from all the DC and all the Marvel movies that the studios do not feel like they have to hold exactly to what happens in the comic books. Right. That's not their primary concern. Is it possible they could go that route with that storyline of, you know, Steve Rogers being killed and then Bucky Barnes stepping up and taking over the Shield? Yes, that's a possibility. It is. It is a possibility. Do not say it's impossible. However, that being said, I don't believe that's the direction they're going to go. I think Steve Rogers is Captain America, and I think in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, people try to say, well, John, didn't you hear that Chris Evans is retiring from acting? He's not retiring from acting. He said he was going to take a bit of a break. John, didn't you hear Sebastian Stan signed a 9-film deal? Every actor that Marvel signs for a 6, 7, 8, 9-film deal. You know why? Because they don't want to go through what they just went through with Robert Downey Jr. again. They want to have, hey, they tell their actors, you want to get involved with Marvel? Great. But you are signing on the dotted line now. And you are committing to as many films as we want to use you for. So I think all that kind of stuff, if you just look at Chris Evans saying, I'm going to take a break from acting. Oh, look, Sebastian Stan signed for a 9-film deal. Oh, look, this happens to the comic books. A lot of people are making that jump to saying, well, therefore, Marvel is planning to kill off Captain America.
Right.
And while it's very possible, it is possible. I'm not going to say it's impossible they're doing that. They very well may. I still think it's unlikely. I don't think they will do that. Then again, I thought it was unlikely they would make another Power Rangers movie. Let's not forget that. and lo and behold, they're making another Power Rangers movie. So take it with a grain of salt. I don't think it's happening. But Schnepp, you look at all this. What do you think their plans are? What are they going to do?
Well, it's interesting because, like you said, I mean, Chris Evans has already kind of stated, hey, I'm going to take a break for a minute. I want to direct a movie or two. I want to do some different things. Right on. Sebastian has signed on this 9-picture deal, and in the comics, he does become Captain America for a little bit while Steve Rogers is doing some other stuff, obviously dead, and then comes back. He's a different character. A bunch of different things happening in the comics. Are they going to use that? They'll use that if they have to. If Chris Evans goes off and busts off and does, look, I mean, he does Captain America. He's shooting Avengers right now. He's already in for Captain America 3. That's 2 years from now. So they're going to shoot that at some point in time. He's going to have some downtime. Maybe he's going to direct his movie, act in a couple other films. Maybe he's going to be like, yeah, you know what? I want to do 4, 5, and 6. I'm Captain America. Yeah. They're going to give him the choice, I feel. If he wants to keep being Captain America, there's no way they're going to say, no, we've got our plans already. Take a hike, son. They're going to be, yeah, no, cool. We're not killing you. We're not going to do that. If he doesn't want to do that storyline, Disney and Marvel are not going to force him to do the death of Captain America. I don't see that as being an issue. But if Chris Evans like, hey, it'd be great if I could just take 5 years or 4 years off, do the death of Captain America in Cap 3 or Cap 4. I get popped off. We don't know what happens. So we've already developed the Winter Soldier in Captain America 3. He turns sides, wakes up or remembers himself as Bucky Barnes, whatever the transformation will be. Captain America 4, he could be Captain America. I would see that as a natural progression only if the actor himself, Chris Evans, is like, I need a break.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of us are forgetting too, and I know I forget about this sometimes, so keep in mind, Marvel already has their Phase 3 plans in place, okay, and we've got Captain America. Great. But now they've got about 6 or 7 other movies they want to make. Yeah. And remember, there is no Iron Man. There is no Iron Man 4 in Phase 3. No Iron Man 4. So just because if Chris Evans wants to take a break, take 2 years off acting, that's fine, because guess what? Marvel may not have planned to make Captain America 4 or 5 in that span. They've still got to give us the Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah. I mean, they still got to give us Black Panther. Yep. They still have a whole pantheon of characters in their catalog that they want to make. They want to make more Thor films.
Inhumans.
Inhumans is one they can do. I mean, we've heard Kevin Feige's talk recently about that, about having his eye on that one. Maybe they're going to go in that direction. There's just so many things for them to do where they don't have to kill Captain America and still have him on the shelf in between Avengers films. Right. So his taking a break could completely fit in with their schedule anyway. Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to the third question today. And the third question today comes to us from Psycho Gorilla.
Psycho Gorilla.
You cannot tell me that is not his birth name. I'm convinced his parents named him that. So Psycho Gorilla says, hey, AMC, I'm a big fan of the show, and I watch it every day. Thank you so much, Psycho. Do you think, or have you heard, if we were ever going to get a Tremors reboot, remake, or sequel? I think the first movie was great, and the sequels were just good, cheesy fun, and I think there are still some fun stories that could be told with these creatures, along with both new and returning characters. What do you think? Well, Psycho Gorilla. Well, Schnepp, I'm starting with everyone. You start with you. Well, all right. Well, if you're in charge of the studio here, what do you do with Tremors?
I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Gorilla, your son or daughter, Psycho, has a very interesting question. I would say refer to Critters. They made a Critters. They made a Critters 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. They kind of played that whole sequel out a little bit. You also can look at like Puppet Master. There's I think 11 of those. Yeah. Which they keep making those because those are something that it has a fan base. It's a small fan base, but it's a fan base that will buy every single Puppet Master that ever comes out forever. Yep. So it's kind of it's a lucrative thing in a small niche market. Tremors falls into that small niche market now because a lot of people saw the first Tremors in the theater. I think the second, maybe the second one was in the theater, but the third and fourth were video releases. I'm pretty sure if there are even more Tremors, I don't know. There might be like 11 Tremors.
There could be, yeah.
But what you're talking about is like a straight up reboot, and I just don't see Tremors as that big of an idea. It's these sand creatures, so it's an easy movie to do really cheaply, which it doesn't mean that that's going to be like a big tentpole film like Tremors is coming to AMC. It's just, I think the Tremors reboot would probably just like hit video shelves or POV, or it's just not going to be a big thing. So, granted, there's a lot of fans who love these series. Like I remember liking Tremors, and I saw the second one. I thought it was okay or whatever, but it didn't grab me. Like I can't wait to see all of the Tremors. There's like 9 Hellraiser movies.
Yeah.
Like
and really, another one coming.
And another one coming, but like I really only count the first 2. Those are the only Hellraiser movies. The rest are just kind of like bizarro. Well, if you ever get a chance to see Hellraiser 4 Bloodlines, what a freak fest that is. That's worth seeing, guys. So guys and gals, check out Hellraiser Bloodlines. I mean, it was like chopped to hell. Like it's like it was destroyed. There's like a larger thing that you'd see clips from YouTube on. You're like, they're in outer space. It's a big box. What is this? It's a really fun, weird decision to even make Bloodlines, if you know what I'm talking about. But I let's talk about Tremors. Are they gonna make a big budget thing? I don't think so.
Sorry, my phone was ringing. I had to turn it off. Look, if I'm in charge of the studio, I do a Tremors reboot. I do. And I think it could be successful, and I think it would be good. That first one, I mean, we had Kevin Bacon and Remo Williams. I always forget Remo Williams' real first name. Ward something. Something Ward, or Ward something. Yeah. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But to me, there was a great sense of, because there's a mystery to it as well. There's a slow simmering fear that starts building. When you finally do see the monsters, there's some payoff to it. And then you had the dad from Family Ties in there too,
right? Playing the survivalist,
anti-government survivalist with his gun. Wasn't it Reba McEntire was his wife too?
I think so.
I think it was. I think that is a movie you could totally reboot, and I think you could put it into a more modern context. It would still play out very much the same way in some New Mexico town,
right? Bring in Kevin Bacon as a cameo.
Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. Kevin Bacon as a cameo. That would be awesome. So I would do it. I would do a reboot. Will they? I think they will. If
they could do it with that kind of style and panache, sure. I mean, that's the problem though within the horror genre is like it's a money grab sometimes where it's like, look, we can just make this for on the cheap and then throw it out there. Tremors 11 or 12.
But you do a Tremors now and you do it right. That's something that you could restart a theatrical franchise with and make a lot of money.
Right. It's got to be done right, because then you can hit that nostalgic buzz for all the people who love Tremors, and then but get all the brand new fans that are waiting to see it.
Completely agree. Okay, let's move on to the fourth question today. And the fourth question, pardon me, today comes from William Morris. I'm assuming that's not the same guy who runs the big talent agency.
He is a cigarette. He is literally a cigarette who writes.
Hail AMC. I guess it's a Hail Hydra reference. I love this picture of you too. Found you guys last year on your Man of Steel review and have been watching ever since. Thank you so much, William. Speaking of reviews, I heard a rumor that John, John, that's me, didn't let Schnepp do the review of Amazing Spider-Man 2 because he didn't like the film. Is this true? If so, how do you decide what films to review and who reviews them? Actually, that's the second part of that question is a really interesting question about how we decide what to do. Okay, the only reason on Mailbag, I kind of like doing a little bit of behind the scenes stuff with Mailbag. This is less formal than we do a movie talk. So the only reason I agreed to take this question though was because a lot of people were speculating in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 spoilers review that we did that I have some kind of power over you. And I said, like,
you will not be on this. No,
you cannot do it because how dare you not like Spider-Man 2? And so a bunch of people were asking that. And then you came in the studio the other day. I didn't know about this. You came in the studio the other day. Goes, did you see some nut job made a video about you didn't let me do Spider-Man 2?
It's like here's the truth of the matter is I went and saw Spider-Man.
Well, let me say this first though. Let me say this first. And for the record, Schnepp, for that Spider-Man 2 review, Schnepp well, in the review too, I mentioned in the spoilers review, I wanted to make sure Schnepp's views were reflected. So I made sure that in the review, I stopped and said, "Hey guys, by the way, Schnepp, who was not on this review, Schnepp did not like this film, and he probably would have given it like a 2 out of 10." And I double checked with you, and you said, "Yeah, that would be it." For the record, Schnepp contacted me.
Yeah, I called him and said, "Hey, I'm not gonna," because I was gonna be on the spoiler show. I went and saw it Thursday, and I was like, "Dude, I can't be on the spoiler show because I absolutely hated it. I'm furious and angry." And even talking about it, even now,
you start to get worked up.
I get angry.
I see your face getting red.
Yeah, because I feel a disappointment that I don't want to express it because I could go on for like 4 hours. So it's like
I tried to talk him into it.
Yeah.
I said, well, I said, Schnepp, it's okay if you didn't like it. It's great. We'll talk about the positives. We'll talk about the negatives, and we'll just rationally say, and then we'll give our score. Nothing wrong with that. But he was like, "I cannot be rational talking about this movie."
Yeah, and I also felt like because I really didn't like it, that it's like, I think in spoilers, you're giving the positive and the negative, and I didn't have any positive stuff to say about it. Even in the scenes that I thought were fun or worked, I like those scenes even less, because it was like that's what the movie should have been, and it's surrounded by all this other stuff.
You did see a lot of positives in this film because we had the same list of positives and negatives, but it was just that the negatives were so strong for you. To you, it kind of, even though you agreed that certain things were good things about the film, they were just completely wiped out and overshadowed by the negatives.
It just took it down to like a 2, like you said. I was like maybe 1, maybe 2, but because it was so disappointing, you could see the movie that it wanted to be struggling and all this other stuff on top of it, and really bad decisions, and we can go into the whole Spider-Man review, but suffice to say, I pulled myself out of doing the review because I felt my tone itself would have been too negative, and I couldn't even, like, I'm not gonna lie. That's my thing. I'm not going to put on a fake face and be like, because John was like, "Well, you could mention things that are positive about it." I was like, I don't feel that way right now. I don't know if like in 2 weeks I'll feel that way. So.
Yeah, so the basic thing was, no, like with the spoiler reviews, here's the thing about us doing spoiler reviews at all. And I let AMC know this too. If we're going to do reviews, we got to be honest about them. And this gets into the second part of your question about how do we decide what movies to review, and then how do we decide who reviews them? To be fair, we do walk a very precarious line. At AMC Movie News, we got to be careful. Now, AMC has the integrity that they give us total editorial control. It is a church and state relationship between AMC Movie News and AMC. AMC never interferes with what we do editorially, nor do they ever try to interfere with what we do editorially. Now, at the same time, we have a responsibility to understand that there could be some conflict of interest in trashing certain movies when these studios are our partners and stuff like that, right? But at the same time, we have to be honest, because if I don't tell you, and AMC understands this completely, and they support this too. If I don't tell you that I am against the Gal Gadot casting in Justice League, then why would you believe me when I say I'm all for the Ben Affleck casting in Justice League? If I'm not honest about the things I don't like, then nobody will ever have any reason to believe the things that I do like. So we got to be honest. And so when we do these trailers, and that's why I said Schnepp, Schnepp, still say what the negatives are, give it your 2 out of 10, but he, expressed himself very well about why he didn't feel he wanted to do that. It's important that we do say that we like something or we don't like something. Now, that being said, we kind of implemented a rule for ourselves then about AMC spoilers, that if the majority of us do not like a film, if the majority of us, like if Schnepp liked a film but I disliked it, Dennis hated it, Amy Rose hated it, Miri hated it, then you know what? If the majority of us don't like a film, then we're not going to trash the film, and we just won't do a review of it, because we're not going to get on camera and say something we don't think. We're not going to get up there and say, "Oh yeah, this latest I don't know, John C. Reilly comedy," and I love John C. Reilly, but this latest John C. Reilly comedy, Bigfoot in the Bahamas, it's good. You should go see it, even though we thought it was trash. We will never, ever do that.
I just want to say I personally loved Bigfoot in the Bahamas, especially that spring scene where they were like in the hot springs. That was incredible.
That was very good. The CG was amazing.
Fantastic.
So we generally pick movies that at least the majority of us liked. And it's okay if one or two of us don't like it. And I like having that counterbalance for people to say things they don't like. And we make sure we do that in every spoilers review.
And to be fair, it's like it is called it's AMC. We work for a movie theater company. I mean, we have our own criticisms and our own reviews. But it's Amazing Spider-Man is opening in like, what is it, 4,000 AMC theaters.
Yeah.
So I felt like if I can't say anything, I'm not going to trash a movie that I can't say anything positive about, especially on a review show that is basically housing that movie. Yeah. I can freely say whatever I want on my Instagram, on my own review shows, which I did. But I didn't feel like I pulled myself out because that's the wrong approach.
And we have another rule too at AMC Movie Talk with AMC Movie News. Even when we're not doing spoilers, we say this: look, I'll tell you if I like a trailer or if I don't like a trailer. I will tell you if I think a film looks good or if a film doesn't look good. But we have this like 2 weeks on either side rule, right? Mm-hmm. Where we say, okay, if there's a film that we really don't think looks any good, we'll say that in advance. But in the like week or two leading up to the release of the film and up to the week or two after the film first releases, so you got about a 3.5 to 4 week window there, we won't talk trash on it. We're not going to say we like it if we don't. We're not going to say anything positive about it. But in that window of its release, in that 3.5 to 4 week window, we have a rule amongst ourselves that we just won't talk trash about it in that window because there's a conflict of interest thing there. So it's really tough for us, and we always want to make sure we walk that fine line between making sure we completely act with our own integrity. We're never going to say something we don't actually believe. And it really drives me nuts when some people say, oh, you're just saying you like that because you work for the movie theater company. Oh yeah, well, explain the 100 bad things I've said about all these other movies. It's important for us to maintain our integrity, only say things that we actually believe, and also trying to make sure we're acting fairly to the films that are showing in our theaters. So to answer your question, no, I did not forbid Schnepp from doing it. That was him. I tried to talk him into it. Number two, we pick movies that we think the majority of us liked, at least the majority, so therefore we're not overly trashing a film. And if we can't do that, then we just won't do a review because we don't want to be dishonest. And as far as who do we choose to do the reviews, usually I'll put out an email to everybody on the AMC Movie News crew and say, hey, who wants to do this one? And like, I didn't have Schnepp scheduled to do the Neighbors one because he's already done a lot of shows this week. But he said, no, put me down for Neighbors. So it's like, all right, so he's in Neighbors.
Right, and I didn't even know if I'd like it or not. But I was like, hey, I saw the trailer. It looks like I hope I'll like it. I hope it'll be fun. And I was really blown away at what a fantastically funny film it was.
Great. So. Watch our spoilers review of Neighbors. It's already up. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, then our Neighbors spoiler review is already up. Check it out. Well, as long as you've already seen the movie too.
Right. Because it's full of spoilers.
So anyway, I hope that gives you a little bit of insight into how we function and some of the rules we set up for ourselves and things like that. And hopefully gives you a bit of insight into what we do here.
And I'll add to that. I think it was it was a funny week and a half. Like just like from that, a lot of people were assuming a lot of things about like how things even go down like behind the scenes, like that we're arguing or that go further.
Everybody knows I hate your guts.
I can't stand Campia.
I just put up with you when we're on camera.
I know.
On camera.
Yeah, we're just like, this is all fake. Yeah, when you see us hang outside of AMC, that's also fake. We hired duplicate. We're like part of S.H.I.E.L.D. We have robot duplicates, and we were like secretly fighting each other on a giant interweb video game. It's just fantastically strange. Like so. Like, please write some fan fiction about it. I would like to be a MODOK creature floating above Campia. I have finally destroyed you, Campia. Or waste your time making weird videos about how I'm being controlled by the super Campias or whatever. I don't, seriously, guys. I watched a few of these things and I was like, wow, that's putting a lot of extra effort into something that really is not. It's vapor. So
yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah,
it's a long time ago. There's some very stupid people in the world, and you just got to be able to grin at it and move on. I still haven't watched those videos, but I mean, you came in the other day and told me about one of them.
And it was a little weird. I was like, I'm
amazed we're big enough that there are actually some people out there who want to make hate videos.
Yeah, it's weird
about us. It's amazing that we're that big.
Yeah, it's astonishing. So,
all right, let's move on to the next one here. And the next question today comes to us from Jared Wilson, who writes, "Hey guys, first I want to say that you are great, and John Schnepp, you are hilarious. Thank you so much, Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan.
Or Jarden? Hey, that's pretty cool, different name. Anyway, in movies, are the actors really drinking? I love the picture. This one. Are the actors really drinking alcohol beverages, or is it juice/soda in the scenes? Thanks, and bring on the filthy. You know what's funny? Friend of ours, Stephen Amell, who stars as Arrow in the TV show Arrow, he just did like a little Q&A the other day, and somebody asked him that question. And he says, you know what? He says, for me, it's hard enough to act as it is. And sometimes, a lot of times, you have to do a take 5, 10, 15, 20 times. He goes, and if I'm drinking a shot of scotch 20 times for a scene, I'm going to be buzzed. Look, there's no rule anywhere that says you can't. I think in Canada there might be, actually. But here in Hollywood, there's no rule that says you can't. Hey, in the scene for drinking scotch, you drink scotch. Daniel Day-Lewis, if his character's supposed to be drinking scotch, Daniel Day-Lewis, damn it, is going to be drinking scotch. But I'm sure there are some actors that go, hey, just put food coloring in the water and make it look like that. I don't think there's a rule for it. I think some of them, it's real alcohol to really make the scene real. And I think for some of them, it's fake. Schnepp, in your experiences that you've had on various sets,
right?
How do people usually handle that when there's alcohol that has to be drank?
It's fake because you're doing so many takes and so many setups and change-ups. I mean, one actor might just have a little sip, the other actor might have finished the entire glass, and then you have to do it again and do it again. It's the same with food. They have spit take, you know, like if you're in a commercial and you're eating a sandwich, there might be 30 takes of you having a bite of that sandwich, and you are not going to be feeling good on take 30. So they throw the whole sandwich out. They give you a brand new sandwich, or you chew on it and you spit it out. You drink it, you spit it out. I mean, if you swallow it, hopefully it's iced tea because you're going to be trashed in about an hour. So, I mean, yeah, most of all the things that you see of people eating or drinking, it's non-alcoholic beverages, and the food, they're not ingesting it fully. If they're like they'll take little bites. If they're smart, they're not going to be cramming stuff because, you know, they're going to get really full, and, you know, it's just not going to be a very great day for them, so to speak. So,
all right, let's get on to the final question of today's mailbag session. And the final question today comes to us. I like this question. It comes from Jacob Parker, who writes, discovered AMC Movie Talk about 2 months ago and haven't missed a show since. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Jacob. I was wondering, in the spirit of comic book characters no longer being restricted to race casting, if you think Keith David would make a good Jameson, as speaking of J. Jonah. I personally think he'd be terrific. I love him in Something About Mary, Men at Work, and Armageddon, among others. Well, let's be really clear here. Keith David is awesome in everything he's in.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Even when he's in a lot of terrible stuff.
Yeah.
And even when he's in terrible stuff, he's great in it.
Yeah.
There's Something About Mary, and he's got also one of those. He does a lot of commercial work too, just his voice, because he's got one of those voices that you'll just recognize. The few, the proud, the Marines. Like, you know that's him, right? You know that instantly that's him. And he's awesome. But I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say, no, I can't see him as J. Jonah Jameson. Not because of the white and the black thing, because we saw a black actor play Perry White.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne, yeah.
So if Morpheus can be Perry White, why not? The reason being is because I don't see him as a fit for that character. When I think of J. Jonah and just the way he acts, and he's so boisterous and all that kind of stuff, I don't personally see Keith being the right guy for that as an actor. It's not the black thing, it's not the white thing. It's just that I don't see him as the right actor for that. Is he a talented enough actor that I'd want to put him in my movie? Yes, but would I cast him, even though he's a remarkably talented dude, as J. Jonah? I don't see him as that character. What do you think?
Yeah, not as J. Jonah. I was just thinking, like, if I was going to try to cast a black actor to play J. Jonah Jameson, I was thinking of, like, because J. Jonah can't be too young. He has to be, like, at least in his 40s or 50s. But then I was like, man, Kevin Hart, just like his like loud, like angry deliveries. If you can get someone like that, someone who can act like that, but who's older. So I was like, just going through my Rolodex in my mind. I was like, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head.
Bill Cosby, a little too old to play it.
Right. I mean, wow. I mean, J. Jonah is like, he's a comical character, but like I could see, I hate going to the well of Denzel, but I mean, Denzel's a great actor. He'd be really fun.
It'd be fun, but once again, I don't see even Denzel as a good fit for that character. I've just never seen him play that kind of a character.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It would totally be a stretch for him. It'd be like a comical role. So, but Keith David's great. I mean, for me, he'll always be in They Live as like
Oh my
him and
gosh,
Rowdy
yeah.
Piper
Him and
are
Rowdy
the
Piper do
two
the thing,
guys.
yep.
Such an amazing movie.
All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Mailbag. Thanks a lot for joining us. Don't forget, we'll be back again tomorrow for the next installment. Hey, if you like this video, click the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, spread the good word about AMC and our YouTube channel around, share this video on your Facebook page or on Twitter or whatever. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to thank the guy sitting next to me being in studio for Mailbag, Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You guys find me at Twitter and Instagram at John Schnepp. I wanted to mention that Ray found that animated picture of me from the still. That's actually from Metalocalypse Season 2. From an episode I directed where me and the co-director Chris Pronowski basically drew ourselves as villains into the episode, and I got to fight Squiscar. So it's really a fun little throwaway moment. I didn't have any lines or anything. It was just like, oh, it was fun. And our character designer, Sungu, did an incredible drawing.
What was his name?
Sungu is his name. He's an incredibly talented artist. He did a great drawing of me. And so it's always fun to, like, sometimes I remember I was in New York on an elevator and somebody was like, I'm sorry, were you a drawing in Metalocalypse? I was like, yes, I was. It was like because he did such a good job at capturing me. So just wanted to throw out some flavor and shout outs there. So
you can find me on all the various social media channels just at John Campia. Thank you so much for joining us, guys, here on AMC Mailbag. Don't forget, lots of great films playing in AMC theaters everywhere right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. And hey, you can also follow us on Twitter at AMC Movie News. So once again, my name is John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
Superhero!